Well, hello there. Welcome to the Shifts and Pucks News Pack, day 2, of course, on Friday, July 8th. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network, as this is day 2 of the National Hockey League draft, rounds 2 through 7. Going through the Rogers outage, the internet outage, and all of that, it actually, rounds 2 to 7 took 2 hours, almost 3 hours, as opposed to one round taking 4 hours. Uh, Move very quickly, very smoothly. I think that's one thing that you're going to have to look at and wonder if the NHL looks at is the length of round one. It was just too long. I don't think you need to have every 20 people right up there shaking hands with Gary Bettman from a management staff. I think one or two people are good enough, and then just do that and move on. It just took far too long for that. It is about the players, and you want the players to have in the first round to have that moment and the jersey and all of that. That's totally fine. I get it, but some of that was a little lengthy, and I think it showed. And a much smoother running rounds 2 to 7 in terms of the logistics of the draft. There was a lot of things that happened in the draft. We'll focus here on, first of all, the two teams that we follow here on Shifts and Pucks the closest, the Vancouver Canucks, as well as the Calgary Flames. And for the Vancouver Canucks draft picks today, of course, they picked Jonathan Leckermacky with the 15th overall pick yesterday. And the so let's have a look at what they did today. So day 2, the first pick that they picked was Elias Pettersson. Who? What? Don't they have an Elias Pettersson? This is a different Elias Pettersson. Yes, he is a third-round pick. They tried to add a second. They could not do it. But it's exactly the same pronouncement here. Quick-witted. The new Elias asked about the old Elias. He says he will shoot, I will pass if that ever occurs. He was their third round pick. And then you've got in the fourth round, they took Damian Garden. He will play high school hockey last season. He was ranked in the 40s by elite prospects. He will be playing in the 2023 season for the Chilliwack Chiefs in the BCHL before heading to Clarkson University in 23-24. U.S. scouts, Todd Harvey said U.S. scouts were very high on him. They like his size and versatility. And then the fifth pick as a goalie from the WHL, Ty Young of the Prince George Cougars. He was a backup last year to Tyler Brennan. He is 20.65 and a 6.2 save percentage in a one playoff appearance last year. Catherine Silverman said, this year is an unprecedented anomaly for draft-eligible goaltenders, and that the majority of classes anywhere from months to a year behind in development, thanks to COVID league shutdowns. And Ty Young is one of the class's youngest players, and he looks it. So that was one thing that was talked about a lot, is the goalie pool wasn't the greatest, and I think that with shutdowns and workflow, I think that had a lot to do with that. So Ty Young was the 5th round selection. And the 6th round pick is a USHLer named Jackson Dorrington. He is from Massachusetts. He played for Des Moines with the USHL last season. Big guy here. Jackson Dorrington, described as a big defenseman, with a hard edge in his game, and questions about skating with Jackson. But here we have a look at him, and he is 6'2", 192 pounds, 18 years old. shoots left and plays defense. And then the final pick for the Vancouver Canucks was a Russian by the name of Kirill Kurdasev. He played in the Sioux this year, put up 39 points in 68 games for the Sioux Greyhounds, and he will be back playing with Sault Ste. Marie. Todd Harvey said last year and next year. So Harvey said he worked well into their lineup and was a big part of it. He's going to be an even bigger part, described as a good puck-moving defenseman. So the Canucks made 5 picks today. And, of course, as far as JT Miller, no news on that. No new news. Of course, the dispute or the question of what happened with the New York Islanders continues to happen. Some say they weren't close. Some say they were close and it fell through at the draft table. There's also a report that the Canucks did not give Lou Lamoriello permission to talk to JT Miller's agent. There's going to be lots of questions around that. The bottom line of what we're saying here, JT Miller remains a Vancouver Canuck. He was not traded on the draft. That continues to be a question with Vancouver. That's something we'll discuss when we do a Canucks free agency draft recap coming in. It'll be interesting to see what people feel about the Vancouver Canucks draft and offseason so far. I think people were expecting a bigger splash. That hasn't happened. But if the trade isn't there for JT Miller, the trade isn't there for JT Miller. Just that simple. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm not an NHL insider. But according to what people are saying, there's going to be a lot of disputes, and in this Canucks market, there is a lot of information out there that you have to sift through, and I think whether we know the truth or not, that will be another question, but that's where we're at with the Vancouver Canucks. They made 5 picks. JT Miller is still a Canuck. Tyler Meyer is still a Canuck. So they didn't make any trades, but there's still time for things to happen. I think there's got to be a lot of other dominoes to fall, and maybe the JT Miller trade talk increases here next week as we head to unrestricted free agency. As far as the Calgary Flames go, they had 3 picks in this draft, and they didn't make any trades up. They didn't make any trades down. They didn't do any other moves other than what they did. They picked at 59 a left shot center from Finland named Topi Roni. He was their second round pick. He is listed as 6'2", 180 pounds from Hausjärvi, Finland. 18 goals and 29 points in 30 games for Finland's SM Sharjah. Played 19 games with Tapara's pro side. Played in 2 major tournaments at the Gretzky Cup, 6 points in 5 games. In the under-18 Worlds, 4 points in 16 games there. He was ranked 41st by Daily Faceoff's Chris Peters. Plays heavy, has a good enough skill to finish in tight, probably a middle lineup player, but if you can find players like that in the second round, your team will be better for it. McKenzie had Ronnie at 65th. FC Hockey had him at 105. But you get that with a lot of the players, a lot of variety of rankings. That's what I've noticed studying this is there was a lot of different rankings, certainly a variety in a number of different areas for some players. So, Topi Roni, the first pick. The second pick for the Calgary Flames was well later in the draft, and his name was Parker Bell from the Tri-City Americans. And he is, 155th overall. And Bell, Tri-City American, 5th round, Parker Bell, 11 days after, born September birthday, 11 days after the cutoff of the 2021 draft. 6'4", 200 pounds, left shot winger. He's from Campbell River, played 2.5 seasons with the Tri-City Americans, 18 goals and 49 points in 64 games in 64 games for him. He was ranked 261st by FC Hockey. He has NHL size, feisty player, gets into the thick of competition. Based scouting report based purely on the fact he has the size and work ethic to be a factor down low, he may be able to develop into a bottom six physical presence type of role player. You're not expecting. Look, there are gems of picks in the late rounds. Andre Palat comes to mind. Obviously, Johnny Gaudreau, 4th-round pick. You can get gems, but they don't always turn out that way. So if this guy Parker Bell turns out to be a player in the Calgary Flames system, bonus. So that is who they have. But there's not a lot of size in the Calgary Flames system. There's not a lot of skill there. They need some work. I still think that Calgary Flames prospect cupboard is a bit bare for my taste. So they added another big body, and then they did that again with their final pick. Here in the draft, the Calgary Flames' final pick was Paul Littieri. Here. He played in the BCHL and with the Wenatchee Wildcats, just pull this up here. Give me a quick moment while I do that. But yeah, the Flames. Cole is played with the in the BCHL. He's another big guy. So just as I pull this information up, he is 6'3", 197. Cade Littler. Sorry about that. Cade Littler. He's an American. Good size player. And he'll join the Flames. He is from Wenatchee, Washington. Played with the Wenatchee Wild. He is, as I mentioned, big size, 219th overall. And not a scorer, but again, you're getting size. 7th-round pick, 7th last pick. He's actually born after the 2004 Calgary Flames run. 20 goals and 45 points for the Wild. He was part of the league's all-rookie team, second on the team in scoring. 201st overall ranked by FC Hockey. Praised his defensive game. It says, with his determination, physical tools, and attention to detail, it's very easy to project him eventually becoming a reliable, effective defensive center at the NHL level. Longer-term project, still pretty raw. He's going to college. He's going to have some time to develop. And as you know, I think with a lot of this draft, except maybe a few players, I think they're going to be long-term projects, longer-term things. Though there'll be some development. It's going to take some time for a lot of these players to get into the NHL. Remember, with the COVID shutdowns, there's a lot of players behind in where they should be, or they were expected to be. And that's going to have an impact on how you evaluate this draft. So the Flames come away with 3 picks. Again, they are Topi Roni from Finland, Parker Bell from a Canadian, and Cade Littler, an American. All over 6 feet, so taller players. Now, as far as the 2 big questions with the Calgary Flames, it had nothing to do with the draft. The question with the Calgary Flames right now is all around Johnny Gaudreau. Brad Sherlivin still believes that there's a chance he could sign Gaudreau. He isn't ready to pivot. He isn't ready to move. Still talking with Johnny Gaudreau. And we'll have to, so that's the first thing. Now, there was also a rumor out there that The New Jersey Devils offered the second overall pick to the Calgary Flames for Matthew Tkachuk. Again, that's a reported rumor. If that the Flames could not do that, because I think the Flames are trying to sign Matthew Tkachuk long term. If they're trying to do that, and I think that a lot of the contract negotiation from Johnny Gaudreau, who apparently wants to meet with ownership, there's still a lot of things that Johnny Gaudreau is thinking about. We're still in a thinking phase. And if you're trading Matthew Tkachuk, I think that that's sending a message to Johnny Gaudreau that you don't want to send at that point if you're trying to sign him. So you can't make that trade if you're the Calgary Flames. So not an exciting, eventful time for the Calgary Flames in terms of the draft. They pick 3 players. They don't make any trades. But I think right now everything is just focused on this Johnny Gaudreau situation and trying to get that signed and seeing where that is. So next week, I think, will be a very significant week in Calgary Flames history. We'll have to see what happens, but that's what went on there. As far as the draft in and of itself, the CHL players, 35 were players were selected from the Ontario Hockey League, 28 from the Western Hockey League, 19 from the QMJHL, 47 forwards, 29 defensemen, and 6 goaltenders. And of course, lots of of course, the second round opened. The first pick of the second round was Owen Beck from the Mississauga Ice Dogs, selected by the Montreal Canadiens. And then the Colorado Avalanche took the last pick of the draft. They only, of course, as you know, or you may remember, because of the trade yesterday for Alexander Gorgiev, they didn't pick until the 6th round. So they had, so very late picks for them, but they got the last pick there, and we'll here in it. And they got the last pick and his name is Zigaloff, Ivan Zigaloff. He was the last pick. He was actually there. He waited the whole time. Couldn't go on Ivan Zigaloff and families to stick around the 2 entire times to be waited to be drafted, but he was the last pick. They also selected Chris Romaine, by the way, in the 6th round, 193rd overall pick. I'll leave that Romaine and Kale joke for you to figure out. But Zigaloff played with the Sherbrooke Phoenix at a QMJHL. 19-year-old right-handed catching goaltender, 6'3", 168 pounds, 26, 9-3 to 2.84 goals against average, 8.92 save percentage. There were 3 other things that happened in the here in terms of trades. The New Jersey Devils acquired Vitek Vanecek from the Washington Capitals for 2 picks, number 37 and number 70. Vanecek is an RFA, so they need to renegotiate. But he split time with Ilya Samsonov the last 2 seasons, 908 save percentage. Mackenzie Blackwood under contract for 1 more year with $2.8 million. The Devils used 8 goaltenders last year. They need to solidify that position. They need to solidify that entire back end. Strong forward. We need to work on defense. We need to work on goaltending if they're going to go further. So a Blackwood Vanecek combination could be a good fit in New Jersey to at least improve the goaltending there. There was one other goaltending move that involved the St. Louis Blues and the Detroit Red Wings, as Ville Husso is now a Detroit Red Wing. He was acquired by the Red Wings in a trade, and then the Red Wings signed him to a 3-year, $14.25 million deal. He would have been an unrestricted free agent. 919 save percentage in 40 games last year. He also made 7 playoff appearances, which tells me they are going to the Blues are going to be looking at going with Jordan Binnington. the Red Wings gave up the 73rd overall pick in the draft for Ville Husso. So that was all. And then the other thing that happened is the retirement of Duncan Keith. That was announced today as he is now retired. Of course, lengthy career with the Chicago Blackhawks, 2 Norris trophies, 3 Stanley Cups, Conn Smythe, 2 gold medals. He will probably be a Hall of Famer. He, of course, 5.5 goes off the cap for the Oilers. That allows them to open some doors for some options for them in terms of signing defensemen, which they need, goaltender, which is a priority. You got to decide on Evander Kane, Kaier Yamamoto, and Jesse Puljujarvi, and other things as well. And of course, that probably makes you some room to re-sign Brett Kulak, who the Oilers felt were effective. Then look at other free agent defensemen. So that's what happens there in Edmonton. But this also affects the Chicago Blackhawks because, and I'll read this tweet from Frank Saravelli in regards to the recapture penalty, which will affect the Chicago Blackhawks for some time here. And it is 2022-23. This is per cap friendly, 5,538,462. 2023-24, 1,938,456 is what the recapture penalty will hit the Chicago Blackhawks. So just to explain how this works, long-term, I'll read this exact tweet from Frank Saravelli. If you're wondering how this works, long-term backdiving deals were outlawed. So Chicago gets hit with a penalty for the years Keith played at a salary cap hit that was ultimately $7.4 million total, under what he was actually paid in cash over time. So that's what's going on with Duncan Keith. And there we go. So we'll have draft recaps all over the place from all the WHL teams. Follow that on all the social channels: WHL on A51, OHL on A51, QMJHL on A51, all of those as well. We'll be doing some draft recaps. I will be working on the Winnipeg Ice and Kamloops Blazers. I'll do a draft recap as well for the Flames this weekend as well. And then you can also, reminder, we will have preview free agents. We'll have Noah Adler and Dan Stevenson, Matt DuBourg from the Fireside Podcast scheduled to join us for Calgary Flames free agency preview draft recap. And then we'll be doing a Vancouver Canucks one on Tuesday as well. So we'll have that ahead of free agency. Very busy time. Cheers of everyone. You can follow us all individually on Twitter. Sean Beardy, Canucks03, Tyler, TNOBLE, Devin Gordhow 09, still out in Europe. Christian Schneid's SCHNEIDZ. I am KVOLE. Shifts and Pucks. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio as well on the Area 51 Sports Network. And thanks everyone for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.